Good evening. It's a very special privilege for us as a community to be able to welcome one of the Gedolei Ador, Hagoner of Weiss, Shlit. We're a little spoiled that we have the opportunity somewhat frequently in Teaneck, and in particular here in Bnei Yisrael, to have the Rosh Hashiva, and we certainly don't take it lightly. I want to take the opportunity to thank many of the other local shuls that are sponsoring this evening. Congregation Beth Aaron, Keter Torah, Rina Yisrael, Zichron Mordechai, East Hill Synagogue, Jewish Center of Teaneck, Ora Torah, and then Israel of Fairlawn. And welcome the many distinguished Rabbanim who honor us with their presence this evening. Because I'll tell us that Talmidei Chachamim marbim shalom ba'olam. That Talmidei Chachamim bring more peace into the world. And it's not clear exactly how it is that the Talmidei Chachamim are marbe shalom ba'olam. So certainly on one aspect, on the one hand, their approach to bringing shalom, bein adam lachaveiro, bringing people together, increases shalom in the world. But a very, very special chayal who I'm in touch with sent me a very beautiful drasha for the Chassam Sofer. And the Chassam Sofer explains that Talmidei Chachamim are marbim shalom ba'olam. They bring more shalom into the world because every midah that Hashem created has to be used at all times in the world. And even when there is this koach for milchama, there is this power that exists, that there has to be some sort of machlokas, some sort of milchama in the world, is something that has to constantly be present. But it does not have to be a physical war. The milchamta shel Torah, the people who are engaged in Talmud Torah, in the pursuit in learning Torah, by increasing the limud ha-Torah and the milchama in Torah, it decreases the balance, it changes the balance, that the physical milchama will not be present in the same way in the world. And his request was in trying to help our chayalim that we increase our milchamta shel Torah, that we increase in so many areas our avodas Hashem, but in particular, if we can sway that balance and have more of a milchama, more of a battle in Torah, then hopefully that changes the outcome and brings shalom soon. The Rosh Hashiva, on so many levels, is marbe shalom ba'olam and is involved in the melchamta shel Torah. Throughout the world, on all sides of the spectrum, he's an address where the most chamor and the most difficult of sha'ilos come. Whether from the war front, whether from the hospital, wherever it may be, he is sought after, bringing shalom with his sensitivity and knowing how, under very difficult circumstances, the halacha needs to be viewed in a way that increases shalom, at the same time being authentic to our Masorah and to what the Torah is, and being involved in Melchamta Shel Torah, being a Marbitz Torah, the world over. So many of the Rabbanim that are here is because of the personal relationships, the shilas that come up, and the way that we have the opportunity. I know personally there have been very difficult questions that Rav Brasher has made time to be able to speak with me, and it has made a tremendous, tremendous impact. And that's really part of what tonight is about. One is to be Makir Tov to the Rosh Hashiva, but it's for us to have the opportunity to be engaged in the Melchamta Shel Torah and to use this as a night of Chizzuk, as a night to appreciate a perspective of what's going on, but certainly also to increase our Melchamta Shel Torah, to be inspired by the Rosh Hashiva, to hopefully be engaged more in this critical part of our avoda of Talmud Torah, and in that way bring more shalom into the world. It is with a tremendous, tremendous kavod for me to present to you Hagoner of Weiss, Shlit.
Recording in progress.
I thank Rabbi Zatz for his generous introduction. I've been in this shul many times in the past, and I hope to be here many times in the future, but never before have I seen such a packed Beis Medrash. I see no empty seat and many people standing. For these are unusual times. We are standing in a critical moment in the history of Klal Yisrael, in the history of our people, especially in modern times. And this is a very painful period. What happened in Simchas Torah was so shocking and tragic. We never believed that we'll see these sights again. Since the Holocaust, more than 1,000 Jews killed, not in the course of combat, just slaughtered, killed, mutilated. And this happened in our land, Eretz Yisrael. Simchas Torah is probably the happiest day in our yearly cycle. Jews across the world dance, sing with a Sefer Torah. So Simchas Torah is always an unbelievably happy day, but the 7th of October will forever live in infamy as one of the most tragic days we have known. And since then, we are engaged in war. And it is almost 2.5 months of war, and each and every day we are losing soldiers. Each and every day, new almonas, new yesomim, fathers and mothers tragically burying children. Should be the other way around. Darkei shel olam. Children were meant to bury their elderly fathers and mothers, lachamea ve'eslim. Parents are not supposed to be burying young children. So these are days of profound tragedy. What is our tafkid? What's our duty? What is our obligation? As Torah Jews, far away from the war front. I think number one is to believe. Chizzuk in emunah. It is hard. The Ramban writes, Yesh davar echad. There is phenomena. Mach'iv halevavot umad'iv hamachshavot. Breaks your heart, troubles your mind. And it is the phenomena of tzaddik v'ralo, rasha v'tovlo. Why do bad things happen to good people? And the Ramban writes that this phenomena caused many to lose their emunah and betochen. And if this is the case on the personal scale, definitely on the national scale. When war breaks out and we're losing lives every day. But we need to believe Kodesh Baruch Hu has his ways, which are above and beyond the realm of our understanding. Historically, every tragedy brings rebirth. Golas Bavel was one of the greatest tragedies. And then the Churban of Bayis Sheni. But in the aftermath of Chorban Abayis, we were Zeicha to the greatest achievement, the greatest literary achievement of Klal Yisrael, Torah Shebal Peh, the Talmud Bavli. In our modern days, the Holocaust was probably the greatest human tragedy in the history of the world, definitely in the history of Klal Yisrael. Chorban Abayis is Chorban Abayis, and it is unparalleled because we lost the Beis Hamikdash. But in human tragedy, maybe the Holocaust was the greatest tragedy ever. And after the Holocaust, we were Zeicha with the rebirth of Israel, hundreds of thousands of people coming back to our promised land, to Eretz HaKodesh. No one believed 80 years ago that this is where we'll be standing, coming back after 2,000 years to our beloved Eretz Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael becoming the center of Talmud Torah, Yirat Shamayim, Chassidut of the entire world. So every tragedy brings salvation. Every Golus brings Geula. And we look up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the heavens, hoping that after this war and this tragedy, we will once again be Zeicha to see Nisim v'Neflois, and to see great things, hopefully, the Geula Shalema. We need to feel the pain, and that is number one. The Rambam writes, Perek Gimel Mehilchas Tshuva, HaPorish Medarkei HaTzibur, Ein Lo Chelek LaOlam Haba. And this halacha is based on the Gemara in Tanis Daf Yud Aleph. Kol she'eino mitztayer b'tzaran shel Yisrael, person that doesn't feel the pain and doesn't participate in the pain of our people, eino ro'eh b'nachamatan, will not have the schiyah to see the Geula. And the Rambam defines who are those, HaPorish Medarkei HaTzibur, she'eino mitztayer b'tzaron, ve'eino nimna b'ta'anitam. We need to feel the pain of each and every Jew, and definitely the pain of our people. This week's parsha, the story of Yosef and his brothers, comes to a dramatic climax. And I just want to note that the story of Yosef and his brothers takes up more space in Chumash Bereshis than anything else. 3 entire parshiyos, Vayeshev, Miketz, Vayigash, are dedicated to the story of Yosef and his brothers. More than the entire story of Avraham Avinu or Yitzchak or Yaakov. So obviously, this story is central and more important than anything else. And in this week's parsha, Yosef finally breaks down crying and revealing his identity to his brothers. And when we learn Parshas Miketz, you cannot escape some feeling and trying to understand Yosef's conduct. He seems to be taking joy in torturing his brothers emotionally. And whenever it seems to be coming to an end, one more shot, as if pushing the knife even deeper into their hearts. So he accuses them of being spies. He locks up Shimon, sends the others home, insists you must bring Binyamin, and they cry to him, our father will perish. No, you must bring him. And Binyamin comes, and they're all happy. And he sends them home to bring their father, and then they plant the Gavia Kesef Bamtachas Binyamin. And once again they're brought back. When does Yosef finally break down? In this week's Parsha, speaking to Yehuda. So let me share with you my feeling that I said many times, and I have also written. Last week's Parsha, when the brothers realize something is going wrong, and amongst themselves they make a cheshbon nefesh, and they say, Aval Ashemim Anachnu, Alachinu. Ki ro'inu b'tzoras nafshoi b'eschananoi eleinu, v'lo shamanu. We are to blame. He cried. He cried, and we didn't hear. As if they were passive bystanders, as if they are to blame because we didn't save him, we didn't hear. You are the ones that did it. You threw him into the pit. And let's just try to imagine. Yosef is thrown by his brothers into the pit with snakes and scorpions, and after a while, they bring him out. I think Yosef thought, my brothers had a panic attack. He became insane. And after an hour, they realized what they did. And they're taking me out and we're going home. And to his shock, he's taken out of the pit and then sold down to alien people. So was the problem we didn't hear? You did it. You threw him into the pit. You sold him. You lied to your father. But the source of the problem is, Ro'inu b'tzoras nafshoi v'schananoi eleinu v'loi shamanu. Aim kol chatas. It all starts with the lack of brotherly love, the lack of compassion. Yes, that is where you were found lacking. That is your blame. He was crying, he's your brother, and you didn't listen. Yosef HaTzadik knows that Klal Yisrael will bear the consequences for ages. Yosef HaTzadik Beruach HaKodesh knows what the Medrash says, that the Asora Haruga Malchus were an atonement for the Chet of Mechilas Yosef. And against his feelings, against his will, against his wish, Yosef understands, this is my duty. I must bring my brothers to atone, to repent, to be metaken this aveira. Ro'ina b'tzoras nafshoi v'schananoi oleinu v'lo shamanu. And Yosef needs to bring them to a point in which they finally will listen and hear and bear responsibility. It's difficult for Yosef. He cries in his inner chambers. When does he finally break down? When Yehuda says, Ki arvecho orei v'sanar, yeshiv nu avdechu tachas anar, v'hanar yale el aviv. Yehuda is convinced that Binyamin is the one that stole that cup. He knows no differently. He is convinced that yes, Binyamin committed this crime, but nevertheless, Yehuda says, I will pay the price. I promised my father. And whatever will happen to me and save my brother. When Yosef hears those words, he knows, Iganu, I achieved my goal. I arrived at my destination. And he cannot for one more moment bear the pain. And finally he says, Ani Yosef. So we learn from this parasha that we need to feel the pain. It is almost impossible being so far away and bearing in mind that most of us don't have kids in the army. I'm fully aware that many of those here do, but most of us don't. And I never will tell people that are mourning, I feel your pain as if it was mine. No, that is impossible. But we need to feel the pain. I personally probably have been crying more in the past 2.5 months than any other equivalent period in my life. And every time I get up to speak, I become emotional, as I assume is obvious right now. I could just assume. So we need to feel the pain. Chaska Levenstein was the great Mashgiach in Panovich. And we have Siches Musar talks that he said in the 6-Day War. And he cries in those talks and he says, how could we sleep by night, snugly in our beds, when we know that thousands of soldiers are lying in the ditches, in the cold, in the rain, fighting? And how could we dance at our simchas? So many thousands of parents are worried that they can't sleep by night, worried for their children. I have a dear friend in Yerushalayim. 2 weeks ago he told me he has 4 kids in the army, all in combat units. 11 o'clock by night, 11:15, someone is knocking at the door. And if you have kids in the army and in unusual hours, there's a knock on the door, you faint, and you're afraid to walk to the door. Because the army will never notify a family that tragedy struck and someone was killed on the phone or by email or any other means. There needs to be a doctor available. So it's always personal. So this person tells me, I didn't walk to the door. I was afraid. And I hope that knock will go away. Didn't go away. And he's knocking and knocking for 10 minutes. With trepidation, I walk to the door. I open the door, and there's the yeshiva standing, stretching out his arm, collecting money. He told me, my first impulse, I wanted to kick him in the face. But I was never as happy to bring a guest into my house as that one. So my first impulse was to hit him. But then I thanked the Kodesh Baruch Hu, it's him. Brought him into the house. I gave him food and drinks. I gave him more money than I ever gave for a shnadel, because I was so happy to see that. So I just tell the story that sometimes we're not even aware. We're not even aware of what these families are going through. So does the Kodesh Baruch Hu want us to feel pain just for the sake of feeling pain? No. If you feel the pain, you feel that you need to do something, and you need to try to be helpful. In what way could we be helpful? First of all, with Achdus, we need to stand together. And there are many sources in Chazal which teach us the importance of Achdus, especially in times of war. It is always important, but never more than in times of war. Medrash Rabba Vayikra, the Medrash says, Ma bein doro shel Achav l'dorei shel David. In the days of Achav, they were Oivdei Avodah Zorah. And they went to war, and they were victorious. Mepnei shelo hayu b'neihem dilturim. B'doreh shel David, hayu b'kiyim b'tumah v'tohara. They were tzaddikim and lamdonim. They went to war, and they were vanquished. Mepnei shahayu b'neihem dilturim. Dilturim is people of machlokes, of lashon hara. So what we learn from this medrash is in times of war, it doesn't necessarily depend how virtuous you are, what a big tzaddik or a lamdan you are. When we stand together, we win. When we are divided, we lose. There's a medrash, I don't know where it is, but it's quoted extensively in the Yismach Moshe. And the Yismach Moshe was one of the great Hasidic masters of his time and one of the greatest Gedolim of his age. Kol zman she'yasor baguda achas ein kol umah v'lashon yichola lahem. When Jews stand together, no one could overcome us. And what we are experiencing in these days, b'toch kol hachoshech and all this darkness, it is something that gives us so much encouragement to see how special we are as a people. Hundreds of thousands of Jews are coming to visit Israel, and many of them visit me at home. And I tell them all, are you aware that you are insane? And most of them are surprised, and they say, why does the Rav say that we're insane? And I say, because sane people keep away from danger. This is a country at war, and you're going to visit South. You might get a rocket on your head, and that is a somewhat unpleasant experience. There's a terrible war raging in the Ukraine for a year and a half, and I'm not aware that hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians from the entire world are coming to visit Lviv, or Kiev, or Odessa. 100,000 Ukrainians fled the country, and 1 million Russians left. But we are different. We are so beautifully insane. Because Klal Yisrael is a family. And when your brother is suffering, you come to see him. And this is an inspiration to seeing so many people just coming down to Israel, not knowing exactly why they're coming. They're coming, they want to see, they want to feel, they want to experience, they want to be part of it, and they want to try to be helpful in any way they can. And this is an unbelievable display of achdus, and it's exactly what we need in times of war. Always, but especially in times of war. But to be helpful, you don't necessarily need to visit Israel. You could sit here in Teaneck, or in Lakewood, where I was 2 days ago, or in Philadelphia, where I spent the last Shabbos. We had a Shabbos of Achdus, and I spoke in all the different institutions and shuls in Philadelphia. So to be helpful, you could be helpful from here, because we need your Torah and your tefillas. We are believers. We believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we believe in the koyach of tefillah and the koyach of Torah. Chaim Shmulevitz, the great Rosh Yeshiva of Mir, and I once again talk about our previous wars. The Yom Kippur War, Shemus that he said, Erev Chag HaSukkos, Tafshin Lamed Daled, was 1973. He said, there is no limit, ein gevul, to our chiyuv to daven for the soldiers. my great Rebbe, the Kloisenberger Rebbe, Tovshim Membeis, I printed this Torah in my shul. It was the Lebanon War. And he said, I got a kfittel, a father and two sons serving in the army together, and it tears my heart, and we need to daven for these people. So we need our prayers. And each and every one of you, daven more and daven better. Add on an additional few kapitlach Tehillim every day to your tefillas. Because we believe in tefillah. And as Rabbi Zetz said in his introductory remarks, we believe in Torah, especially in times of war. I have an amazing pshat, I think, in a Gemara twice in Shas. Megillah Daf Gimel and Sanhedrin Mem Dalet. And the Gemara tells the story of Yeshua ben Nun as related in Sefer Yehoshua. In the time of Melchemes Kibbush Eretz, Melchemes Mitzvah, Yeshua goes out by night. I don't know whether it was his bodidus. Maybe he had a kesher with Breslev, I don't know. Or it was just to get some fresh air, and he sees a commander, and he is baffled. He doesn't know this commander. He knew his officers. Neither does he recognize his uniform. And he asks him, Halonu at im litzorenu. Are you friend or foe? Which camp do you belong to? Are you one of us, or you belong to the enemy? And the commander answers, Loi ki sar tzva Hashem anochi. I'm not a mortal. I'm not human. I'm an angel. I'm a malach, and I was sent with a message to you. And Yeshua asks, what is that message? And the malach says, Bitul Torah. Emesh bitaltem tomet shel beinu arbaim, vayom bitaltem en ha-Torah. What does Yeshua do? Vayolen betoich ha'emek, melamed shalan ba'umka shel halacha. And I say, why umka shel halacha? I don't think I was there. If I was, I forgot. If I would be there, or if I would be Yeshua ben Nun, I would say to the malach, Rabbeinu HaMalach, you might be a great malach because I don't know how to evaluate malachim. But obviously you don't remember Shas, because in Soita Daf Mem Dalet the Gemara says that by Melchemes Mitzvah we're potter from Talmud Torah. Oseg b'mitzvah patur min ha-mitzvah. So what are you talking about, Bittul Torah? My guess is that the Malach says, Yoshua, open your eyes. You don't understand what you're seeing. Open your eyes and look at me. If I would be sent min ha-shamayim l'tboa elbona shel Torah, I would be wearing a hamburger and a frock, like Rosh Hashivas wear. I'm not wearing the classical dress of a Rosh Hashiva. It's not about Torah. If I would be sent min ha-shamayim to demand more Hasidus, I would be wearing a shtreimel and a kaftan and maybe Weiss and white socks like the Rabbeim wear. Look at me, he says. I have full military gear. I have an army uniform. You thought I'm a general. I was sent to talk to you about the war. Not about Talmud Torah, about a war. Jews don't win wars with Bittul Torah. Jews don't win wars just by the means of force and might. Jews win wars with Torah. So let me make this very clear. We need an army, and we need the best army, just like we need the best doctors. We need the best army, the best trained troops, the best weaponry, the greatest motivation, and I believe we have all that, but all that is not enough. We need HaKadosh Baruch Hu on our side. Hashem ish melchamo. And that is how we win wars. We win wars with Torah. Some of you are probably familiar with the concept of Yisachar Zavulun. Some of you might have Yisachars. It's a very well-known concept in the Torah world. Smach Zavulun b'tzeisecha v'Yisachar b'Yeholecha. Zavulun does business, supplies Yisachar, Yisachar learns Torah, and they share in the award of Torah. But that is only 50% of the Yisachar Zavulun agreement. That is Yisachar Zavulun of peacetime. There's Yisachar Zavulun of wartime. And at that very same pasuk, the Netziv writes in Hamek Dovo, V'zois lefonim al Yisrael. Whenever Jews go out to war, they have others sitting and learning Torah. And to me, it's a pella, the Netziv, one of the major commentators, didn't see the Onkelos on this spot. It's actually Targum Onkelos, first and foremost of Torah commentators. And Targum Onkelos on the Pasuk Smach Zvulun B'Tzisecha writes, Chodi Zvulun b'mafkei la'agocha krova al bali devavech. Zvulun is happy to go to wage war, Yisachar b'Yeholecha. And it's the Zohar on the spot. So when we fight wars, we need those that learn Torah. So the Malach tells Yeshua, it's not about Talmud Torah, it's about war. Nothing about Jews is natural. Because in the course of nature, in the course of history, the Jews should have been 2 or 3 pages in history books. Somewhere between ancient Troy and the Roman Empire, it would be written, there was a people called themselves the Jews. And they claimed to be descendants of the patriarchs, of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And they rose to prominence so-and-so BC, and they sank into oblivion. Their demise was when the temple was destroyed so-and-so AC. But we're not history. We're alive and we're thriving, and we're doing quite well. We are the people of eternity. We are a miracle. And my great Rebbe constantly used to quote Rabbi Yankov Emden. In the introduction to his famous siddur, Shari Shemayim, the Emden siddur, he writes, Chai Roshi, and that is an oath. Kasher ani mitbonen b'kiyum Yisrael b'golus, se achad ben shiv'im ze'evim, a lamb between 70 wolves. Gadol hanes hazeh be'einai, yoter mekol hanisim shenasu la'avotenu b'Mitzrayim, al hayam u'be'eretz Yisrael. This is the greatest miracle, that we're still around, that we exist. And those words were written more than 300 years ago, and I wonder what would Rabbi Yankov Emden write today? What have we been through in the past 300 years? So many trials and tribulations, anxieties and difficulties, spiritually, physically, beruchnius ubegashmius, with this terrible climax of the Shoah. What would he write today? I don't know. I guess he would probably write, Gadol hanes hazeh be'einai kemo briat shamayim va'aretz. What else could he write? So we are the people of miracles. Everything about us is miracles. We don't win wars just by force. We need tefillah. We need Torah. So each and every one of you, each and every one of us, needs to make more effort. One of the guests sitting in shul tonight is of David Gottlieb, my dear friend, a Marbitz Torah from Eretz Yisrael. And he has a project called Tzalash. Tzalash is the abbreviation, Rosh Tevis, of Tzava L'Shem Shamayim, servicing the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, Israeli soldiers that are from Lamdei Torah and caring to their needs. Some time ago they turned to me whether I would agree they should publish a special Minchas Osher packet edition for soldiers. I was extremely moved. I doubted whether there's a need. So we published a Minchas Osher on Bereshis, one shir, one shmuz in every parsha. Some of you are familiar with my farm. And there was a huge demand. And maybe this cover would seem familiar to some of you. This is the cover of the Minchas Osher, and this is the one they published on Chanukah. And now we're working on one on Shemais. Tens of thousands of soldiers are learning, and learning in a high level. Not only saying Tehillim, learning Daf Yomi, learning Minchas Osher. But we need to learn as well, and we need to learn more. Daven better, learn more and learn better. So war demands sacrifice. And so many young people are sacrificing their lives. Each and every one of us needs to sacrifice something. So we all need to feel that we need to be part of this effort. And being far away, what is required from us? Davening, learning, chesed, yitzadok. And bear in mind, what you do should be lischutam. A few days ago, I was notified that a young soldier that learned my title was killed in combat. And I dedicate tonight's shir Le'ilui Nishmosai, and I would ask all of you to learn Le'ilui Nishmosai. Ayal ben Shemaya. One of my closest friends in Eretz Yisrael, a great supporter of Torah. His son-in-law was badly injured trying to free hostages. And I want you to daven for him as well. Nitanel Yaakov ben Yehudit Sarah, if you would mind to write down his name. And daven Yishara Verafu Shalem. So that is our obligation. Chesed, Torah, Tefillah, Achdus. Those are the keys. Those are the schools. So let us all hope and pray, hope and doubt. Should be no more tragedy. This war should be over soon. And the schus of Ahavas Yisrael and Achdus in our communities, and Tefillah and Torah, שהקדוש ברוך הוא ירחם על עמו, שיאסוף הקץ לכל צרותינו, תחילה וראש לפדיון נפשנו. We should be zoichet to the posuk v'natati shalom ba'aretz u'shchavtem ve'ein machrid. This war should be over soon, and we should achieve all the goals we have set out to achieve. That Yidden in Eretz Yisrael should be able to live in peace, in harmony, b'sholem, b'shalva, to raise their children without fear. We should be able to learn Torah and daven and all the thousands upon thousands of Bote Midrashos and Bote Knesios, Migdashei Ma'at B'Yisrael. We should only know the service days. And thank you all for coming together tonight. We should see Bias Goel Tzedek and Binyan Beis Hamikdash B'Meilo V'Yomeinu. Amen.